Hello and welcome all you lawbreakers, criminals, and wrongdoers to the beginning of a three-part guide into the Hellion of the Heals, the Battle Medic. I'm Alan IHOLDSHIFT Donofrio, and this is the Battle Medic Blueprint Part 1, The Basics. Here in the blueprint, I will show you how to become a Master Medic by breaking down the class into a three-part tutorial. In this first part, we will be taking a more detailed look into the key components of the Battle Medic's kit, what they're designed to do, and how you can properly utilize them to start your journey on becoming a deadly combination of support, sustain, and of course slaughter. I realize that there are a lot of other guides out there on the Battle Medic, and I encourage anyone looking to start playing to consider watching them all. However, this guide will not just be looking into what the kit contains, but the details of each weapon that the Battle Medic brings to the field. By the end of this lesson, you will understand the specifics of both the Lobber and the Firefly, how exactly the Hover Pack works, and the three specific uses of the Defense Grid Ultimate. But before we get into too much, let's start with the primary weapon, the Lobber. The Lobber is, for all intents and purposes, your standard grenade launcher. With a 6 ammo clip, it can deal area explosion damage either on direct contact or by pressing right click after a short time delay. So yes, that does mean that you can get multiple kills with one grenade shot, poggers in the chat. But the one thing that a lot of people do not understand is what specifically the damage numbers look like. A direct impact from a Lobber shot will deal a true 135 damage. Having little to no bearing, no matter the distance, a direct shot will still be immensely punishing if you manage to hit directly. Kind of like Mike Tyson to the ear kind of punishing. This is important not only to understand the value of a direct shot, but also when considering your playstyle choice when firing your Lobber at your opponent. Since you can get a full value of grenades at a long distance, this should encourage new med players to try to stay a little further out of the fight and not necessarily go looking for up and close and personal 1v1s with your Lobber, unless of course you're a greedy son of a gun, in which case you'll always get the green light from me. You'll also notice that the Lobber's proximity damage will also scale depending on how far from the area of impact your target is standing. This starts close to around the 90 damage mark for non-direct shots and diminishes to a low of around 30. Obviously, the closer the shot, the more the damage. But of the more noticeable things about this is the actual bloom that will hit your target. The statement of close is only good in horseshoes and hand grenades couldn't be more true. Also, who still plays horseshoes? Can we really not find a more relatable analogy in 2017? Battle Medic's secondary weapon is the Firefly, a laser pistol sidearm that shoots a triangle of 3 shots in a 4-round burst. The Firefly should really be looked at differently than just your normal secondary weapon. With a faster projectile speed than that of the Lobber, and of course having no arc to the shot, the Firefly is great in low gravity areas, as extremely useful as a tool to secure low HP targets due to the more user-friendly trackability it provides. The weapon does not have an actual ammo count, but it does have an overheating mechanic to it that we will go into more detail about in Part 2 of the blueprint. But for now, let's take a look at how the damage works for the Firefly. As mentioned before, the Firefly shoots out 3 different laser bullets, we'll call them, in a triangle shape in each round. Each fully hit round from the Firefly will deal a total of 30 damage. However, unlike the Lobber, the Firefly does have diminishing values to the damage, depending on the range. Although it is marginal, the pistol does have small fall-off at range, going down to about 24 per round. This is all fine and dandy, but what a lot of people do not realize is that each of these bullets actually hold individual damage numbers at around 10 per bullet. So, mathematicians, hitting all 3 will merit 30 damage per round, 2, 20, and 1, a mere 10. This leaves the cap at 120 damage per bursted shot, meaning the confirmed damage between the Lobber and the Firefly is rather indifferential. 120 for a full burst, 135 for a direct shot, 80 for 2 shots hitting in a burst, 70 to 80 for a close proximity Lobber explosion, and then 40 for 1 shot hitting in a 30 to 40 for a max radial burst from the grenades. This will actually mean that at most long distance fights, and especially in low grav, you can actually get more confirmed damage with your Firefly than with your Lobber. Cue raised eyebrows and light bulb moments. Now that we had the damage dealing part out of the way, I know, boring, right? Let's talk about how to properly move as a medic. As you've probably come to realize, each class in Lawbreakers has a unique style of movement, whether it be in low or regular gravity areas. The medic will be relying on their hover pack for 90% of their movement through both types of zones. The hover pack seems rather simple, but fully understanding it is extremely beneficial when trying to learn harder, more evasive maneuvers. The shift key will activate your hover packs, giving you a slight boost into the air, and then allowing you to float while consuming fuel. You have full 360-degree range of motion, but you'll feel the inertia physics coming very much so in play while using them. This is, you'll be feeling yourself staying in motion even if you've taken your finger off the W, A, S, or D keys. This will be extremely important when it comes to advanced moves like strafe dodging and bunny hopping, which will be covered in future parts. The other thing to keep in mind is not only will the spacebar elevate you higher, but, similarly to the shift key, you can actually activate your hover pack by holding the spacebar down. The difference? Well, I'm glad you asked, because it's quite important. Using the spacebar method is more of a temporary use of the hover packs. You can activate it and rise as high as you'd like by holding it down, but as soon as you let go, you will start to plummet towards the ground. Quite the opposite effect of the fizzy lifting trick. If you use the shift method, you'll find that even when you let go of spacebar, you will actually maintain your elevation and still be able to maneuver as if you were on the ground. Let's look at this another way. Using the spacebar method to activate your hover packs is best compared to the slow and steady approach. It takes a little bit longer to start up, you'll rise a little bit slower, but you'll have a bit more control over your fuel consumption. The shift method is much more explosive, however, and will give you a quick takeoff, allowing you to rise higher, pending you have the fuel to do so. If we were to have a mini derby race between the two approaches, you'll actually see that the shift method will not only get you higher faster, but you will actually consume less fuel while doing so. So long as you remember to deactivate your hover packs when you've reached your desired elevation, the shift method is much more efficient and effective when it comes to burst mobility, which will, again, be extremely important in future lessons. Before we get into how to properly move in low gravity using the booster, we have to look at one of the most unappreciated mechanics in the game, backfiring. By holding or tapping left control, you will take your in-hand weapon and properly propel yourself forward by firing behind you. Looking up will cause you to shoot towards the ground, propelling you upwards, and vice versa when you look down. This is key when it comes to properly managing your fuel in low grav and, of course, helping you keep up with the more speedier classes. Although you can use your hover pack to help redirect you around map obstacles, the force of the backfire tends to be quicker and more effective. A lot of new players do not realize the up and down potential of the backfire and will routinely hit different environmental parts of the map. Go! If you simply adjust the direction you're firing, you can actually propel yourself very quickly from one side of the map to the other without a hitch. Now let's see how to combine both the hover pack and backfiring together to most effectively move through those low grav areas. Exhibit A will be what I find most new players will do. Boost out of base, continue to boost, elevate, cancel, and you've arrived at your destination. Exhibit B, same start, but as we get into low grav, we cancel the pack to save fuel, and backfire to propel us faster to the objective. Congratulations. Another example. On your marks, get set, Exhibit A. And Exhibit B. The difference is rather clear, isn't it? Also, how about that backward bunny hopping? A taste of things to come in future parts, perhaps. The last thing to cover here in Part 1 will be the uses of the Defense Grid Ultimate. As the name suggests, the primary intention of Medic's Bubble is to defend against pesky enemies. But specifically, the Defense Grid has 3 inherent properties that grants its usage in different situations. The first of which is the Sustain Heal that the Ultimate brings to yourself and teammates. While allies are standing in the interior of the grid, they will receive persistent healing over time, totaling up to 200 over the full duration of the Ultimate. This is a great way not only to keep teammates safe, but also bolster their health while securing objectives or lasting longer in teamfights. The second property of the Defense Grid can be found in its ability to knock back nearby opponents. This is one of the more undervalued uses of the Ultimate with newer players, and its usage can actually cause a significant change in objective scores. Trying to run a blitzball in, but the enemy's crowding the goal? No worries. Trying to steal a battery or uplink? Easy peasy. The last use of the Ultimate is to counter enemy ultimates themselves. Blocking damage is one thing, watching a Titan pop his berserk and shoot all of the lightning into a green bubble is quite another. The ability to counter ultimate is absolutely crucial in Battle Medic's playstyle, but keep in mind that your allies can also be blocked by this too. Outside of the uses of the ultimate, the last thing I want to send you all away with is one of the more unknown aspects of Battle Medic's kit. Her cooldown reduction in healing. What does that even mean? You'll notice as I heal my teammate, the cooldown on my ultimate will actually also periodically decrease. It is important to note that the more healing that you do, the faster that your ultimate will charge. This property in itself is one of the keys to why the Battle Medic should be always focused on healing first and fragging second. The Defense Grid ultimate is by and far one of the strongest abilities in the game, and if you can master the uses of it, you'll be well on your way to saving lives, one at a time. So there it is. There are your first tips on becoming a badass Battle Medic. Hopefully you've taken a few different things away about the specifics of the class's kit, including the damage of each weapon, how to best maneuver using the hover pack and backfire mechanic, and of course how to best decide when to use the Defense Grid ultimate. Once you've felt like you've hit each of those rather well, come on back for part 2, where we'll be going over things such as bunny hopping, how to never overheat your Firefly, and using the reticle properly, amongst other things to help you live longer and of course frag harder as a medic. Also be sure to catch me live over on twitch.tv/IHOLDSHIFT if you have any questions or are looking for other pointers. My DMs are always open, as they say. Until next time, happy healing, and make sure you keep holding it down.